We're joined here on set by our politics editor, Marc Perelman, to look really, Marc, at the political ramifications of all this. You know, how can the far-left France Unbowed party recover from this? Is there division within their own ranks about the handling of all of this?
For now, no divisions at all. The party is fully behind its leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, in fighting back, saying we have nothing to do this. This is a political vendetta against us. People are taking advantage of this tragic death to try to tarnish us and say we're not only on the far left, but we're the violent far left, a far left that kills and not only argues and fights in parliament. So this is clearly a big problem, and they're fighting back. A few hours ago, we learned that there was a bomb alert at the party headquarters in Paris, and it was quickly ended. But one of the leading members of France Unbowed, Manuel Bompard, saying this proves that this is also dangerous for us, that everyone saying that we're killers or we're associated with killers could also have consequences for us. So they're obviously trying to find ways to respond. The problem is for Jean-Luc Mélenchon that it's on the record that the party is associated with this group called the Young Guard, which is now under scrutiny, which was dissolved a few months ago by the Interior Ministry. Why? Because
whose members are suspects.
Exactly. Why? Because Jean-Luc Mélenchon went to a kind of like summer camp where they were meeting back in 2023 to salute them. And in 2024, there was a public meeting in Auxerre, in Burgundy, where he said on the stage that the Young Guard was allied with France Unbowed. So there is a link, not only speculation by journalists or by political opponents, but admitted by the leader himself. Obviously, this doesn't mean that Jean-Luc Mélenchon is ordering people to go and fight and eventually kill people. But the fact that he is indeed associated with this Young Guard, the fact that he himself, the supreme leader of the France Unbowed, said that Raphaël Arnaud would run for election and be elected, Raphaël Arnaud being one of the founders of the Young Guard, clearly puts the France Unbowed in a very difficult position. They have to respond because they want to distance themselves from the death of Quentin.
And meanwhile, this far-left France Unbowed have in the past, they have cooperated, they have a partnership with the mainstream socialists in France. It has at times looked very bumpy anyway. There have been calls from former socialist president François Hollande and others too, perhaps to completely break any relationship between the far left and the mainstream socialists over this. Are we likely to see more of that?
Well, obviously, there are some, you mentioned François Hollande, but some voices on the Socialist Party, which has already been at loggerheads with the France Unbowed for over several months, to say we need to cut ties because this could also damage us. But there is no consensus within the socialists. I mean, many of the socialist militants were brought up essentially to fight fascism. So for them, the enemy is the far right. It's very difficult for them to turn around and say we might have problems on the far left because many of them were militants with members of France Unbowed. Let's not forget, Jean-Luc Mélenchon was a socialist. He was a socialist minister, actually, a quarter of a century ago, before he broke ranks. So they all come from the left, which was often at loggerheads with the right, but especially with the far right. So it's difficult within the Socialist Party to totally break ranks. We haven't heard much from the leader of the Socialist Party, Olivier Faure. Clearly, there is malaise. We'll have to see where the investigation leads, but this is indeed creating tensions. Some might say it might also provide some clarification about the alliances on the left for the forthcoming municipal elections in a few weeks, but more importantly for the presidential election in 2027.
And you mentioned those mayoral elections just quickly. The voter in all this, the far right have used this occasion to say that there should be a Front Républicain, which is where French voters are asked to vote tactically in the past to block the far-right candidates getting any seats. And now there will be calls to do the same thing to block far-left candidates from getting seats. Do you think that any voters will heed that?
Well, first of all, we have to just measure the change you just mentioned. I mean, for years, and including in the last election, the snap election, which was called by Emmanuel Macron, there was indeed a Republican front against the National Rally to prevent them from gaining seats in the National Assembly. This was in 2024, not 15 years ago. Now there is talk of a reverse Republican front against the far left. And clearly the National Rally is now very happy because they've been considered outside of the Republican realm, a far-right party, a party that doesn't really respect the Republic. And now they're enjoying the show. They're just sitting and watching the France Unbowed being called by the French authorities a far-left party, being associated with violence. This has been the case for the National Rally for years. Many people have died at the hands of the far-right over the last 10 years or so, and some of the attackers were associated with the National Rally indirectly in some cases, but more directly in others. So now you're seeing a reversal, and the National Rally, which is already riding very high in the polls, can only benefit from the latest developments. We'll have to see in the municipal elections. Yes, but those are local elections, so it's very different from one town to the other. But obviously, they have their eyes trained on the presidential election, and clearly they are the favorites. If it's Marine Le Pen or Jordan Bardella, it doesn't really matter. Now the odds are that they would really be on top in the first round, and that they would really have a shot at winning the presidency. It's in a little more than a year. It always seemed very far away, but now we're getting there, and the latest developments can only boost them.